Here's a brutal truth. Americans think British comedy began and ended with Monty Python and Mr. Bean. But while you've been obsessing over the same tired Ealing comedies, there's an entire treasure trove of post-war British brilliance that's been criminally overlooked across the pond. These aren't your cozy, crumpet and tea affairs. We're talking razor-sharp satire, subversive genius, and comedic gold that makes Hollywood's attempts look absolutely pathetic. Ready to discover what you've been missing? Number 12, School for Scoundrels, 1960. You think you know British class warfare? Think again. School for Scoundrels isn't just a comedy. It's a masterclass in social demolition disguised as harmless fun. Based on Stephen Potter's one-upmanship books, this film follows Henry Palfrey, a pathetic wimp who enrolls in a finishing school for cads to learn the dark arts of psychological manipulation. What makes this film absolutely brilliant is how it exposes the rotten core of British polite society. While Americans were making squeaky clean comedies about suburban families, the Brits were crafting a savage takedown of everything their culture supposedly stood for. Ian Carmichael plays Palfrey with such cringeworthy authenticity that you'll want to crawl under your seat, while Alistair Sims' headmaster delivers lessons in bastardry with the precision of a surgical strike. The film's genius lies in its complete moral ambiguity. There are no heroes here, just varying degrees of awful people trying to outdo each other. When Palfrey finally learns to be a complete shit to get the girl, the film doesn't celebrate his transformation. It simply presents it as an inevitable fact of life. This kind of cynical sophistication was years ahead of anything Hollywood was producing. But here's the kicker. Americans completely missed the point when they tried to remake it decades later. They turned Potter's acidic social commentary into a feel-good story about self-improvement. It's like trying to remake A Clockwork Orange as a heartwarming tale about troubled youth. The original's brilliance lay in its refusal to offer easy answers or moral comfort, something American audiences apparently couldn't stomach. Number 11, The Green Man, 1956. If you've never heard of The Green Man, you're not alone, and that's absolutely criminal. This is British comedy at its most deliciously dark, following a mild-mannered assassin who runs a country pub while moonlighting as a professional killer. It's Fawlty Towers meets The Sopranos, decades before either existed. George Cole delivers a performance so charmingly sinister that you'll find yourself rooting for a literal murderer. His character, Hawkins, approaches assassination with the same meticulous attention to detail that others might apply to flower arranging. The film's opening sequence, where he calmly explains his methods while preparing for his next job, is a masterpiece of deadpan delivery that would make Buster Keaton weep with envy. What sets this film apart from every other comedy of its era is its complete commitment to the absurd premise. While other films might wink at the audience or pull back from the darkness, The Green Man doubles down on its macabre humor. When Hawkins' plans go awry and he's forced to deal with increasingly complicated situations, the film never loses its twisted logic. The supporting cast, including a young Terry Thomas as a bumbling BBC announcer and Alistair Sim as a befuddled clergyman, creates a perfect ecosystem of British eccentricity. Each character is operating in their own reality, completely oblivious to the chaos surrounding them. It's like watching a beautiful disaster unfold in slow motion. Americans ignored this gem because it requires a certain appreciation for gallows humor that Hollywood has always struggled with. While American comedies of the era were busy teaching moral lessons, The Green Man was content to find humor in the darkest corners of human nature. It's Ealing-quality filmmaking without the Ealing sentimentality, and that's exactly what makes it brilliant. Number 10, The Bells of St Trinians, 1954. Forget everything you think you know about British boarding school films. The Bells of St Trinians isn't Dead Poets Society with pigtails. It's Lord of the Flies with hockey sticks and attitude. Based on Ronald Searle's cartoons, this film presents St. Trinians as a complete breakdown of civilization, where the inmates have taken over the asylum and turned education into organized chaos. The genius of this film lies in its complete rejection of the children are innocent mythology. These girls aren't misunderstood angels. They're tiny sociopaths who would make the Cray twins nervous. They run gambling operations, brew illegal alcohol, and treat their teachers like expendable resources. When the Ministry of Education tries to investigate, they're met with the kind of resistance usually reserved for enemy invasions. Alistair Sim pulls double duty as both the headmistress and her brother, delivering performances that are equal parts terrifying and hilarious. His Miss Fritten isn't a stern disciplinarian, she's a completely unhinged enabler who views chaos as a form of artistic expression. The scenes where she attempts to maintain order are like watching someone try to herd psychotic cats. What makes this film absolutely brilliant is how it subverts every expectation about British propriety. While American school comedies were celebrating conformity and respect for authority, St. Trinians was gleefully burning down everything sacred. The girls don't learn valuable life lessons. They perfect their criminal skills and graduate to bigger and better schemes. American audiences couldn't handle a comedy where children were portrayed as genuinely dangerous rather than merely mischievous. The film's anarchic spirit and complete disrespect for traditional values made it feel too foreign, too dangerous for mainstream American consumption. They preferred their school comedies sanitized and safe, missing out on what might be the most subversive children's film ever made. Number 9, I'm All Right, Jack, 1959. While Americans were making comedies about suburban bliss, the Brits were crafting I'm All Right, Jack, a savage evisceration of industrial relations that makes The Office look like a documentary about workplace harmony. This film takes aim at both management and labor with equal ferocity, creating a comedy so politically incorrect that it could never be made in today's climate. Peter Sellers delivers what might be his greatest performance as Fred Kite, a union shop steward whose rigid adherence to principal masks complete incompetence. Sellers doesn't play Kite as a lovable rogue. He's a petty tyrant whose narrow-mindedness brings an entire factory to its knees. The character is simultaneously sympathetic and infuriating, a perfect embodiment of how good intentions can create absolute chaos. The film's structure is pure genius, following naive Stanley Windrush as he stumbles into various jobs, each one revealing new layers of systemic absurdity. From the nepotistic boardroom to the strike-happy factory floor, every workplace is populated by people more concerned with their own interests than actually getting anything done. It's a comedy of errors where the errors are baked into the system itself. What makes this film particularly brilliant is its refusal to take sides in the class war. Management is greedy and incompetent, workers are lazy militants, and the only honest character is too naive to survive. The film's final message, that everyone is equally awful in their own way, was too cynical for American audiences who preferred their social commentary with clear heroes and villains. The film won the BAFTA for Best Film and made millions in the UK, but American distributors barely knew what to do with it. Its complex political satire and distinctly British industrial setting made it feel impenetrable to audiences who were used to more straightforward comedy. They wanted their workplace humor to be simple and their politics invisible, completely missing one of the sharpest social comedies ever made. Number 8, The Smallest Show on Earth, 1957. Cinema history is littered with films about failing theaters, but none capture the beautiful futility of the enterprise quite like The Smallest Show on Earth. This isn't Singin' in the Rain with its triumphant celebration of show business. It's a love letter to mediocrity, following a young couple who inherit the world's most pathetic cinema and decide to make a go of it anyway. Bill Travers and Virginia McKenna play the hapless new owners with such genuine bewilderment that you'll feel sorry for everyone involved. Their cinema, the bijou kinema, isn't charmingly run down. It's an actual health hazard. The seats are held together with prayer. The projection equipment belongs in a museum. And the staff consists of 3 aging eccentrics who treat the place like their personal retirement home. Margaret Rutherford, Peter Sellers, and Bernard Miles form a triumvirate of theatrical losers so perfectly cast that they seem to have stepped out of a particularly cruel fairy tale. Rutherford's Mrs. Fazakerly sells tickets with the enthusiasm of an undertaker. Sellers's projectionist treats every screening like a personal affront. And Miles's ancient doorman moves at the speed of geological time. Together, they create an atmosphere of magnificent failure. The film's genius lies in its complete commitment to the absurd premise. While Hollywood would have turned this into an uplifting story about dreams conquering adversity, the British version presents failure as a viable lifestyle choice. When the couple finally accepts that their cinema will never be successful, the film treats this as a moment of enlightenment rather than defeat. Americans missed this gem because they couldn't understand why anyone would make a comedy about accepting mediocrity. The film's gentle melancholy and celebration of small-scale dreams didn't translate to audiences who expected their entertainment to be bigger, louder, and more obviously successful. They wanted Rocky, not a story about people who were perfectly content to lose. Number 7. TwoWay Stretch, 1960. Prison comedies are a dime a dozen, but TwoWay Stretch is something special, a heist film where the criminals are already behind bars and prefer it that way. This isn't The Great Escape, with its heroic struggle for freedom. It's a celebration of institutional living, where prison represents security, comfort, and the perfect base of operations for criminal activity. Peter Sellers leads a gang of convicts who have turned Huntley Prison into their personal country club. They've corrupted the guards, intimidated the warden, and established a routine so comfortable that the outside world seems like an unnecessary inconvenience. When they plan a diamond heist, their biggest concern isn't getting out of prison, it's making sure they can get back in without anyone noticing. The film's brilliant premise turns every prison movie convention on its head. These aren't desperate men yearning for freedom. They're savvy entrepreneurs who have figured out how to game the system. Prison provides free room and board, medical care, and protection from the outside world's complications. Why would anyone want to leave such a perfect setup? Sellers delivers a performance that's equal parts charming and calculating. His character, Dodger Lane, isn't a lovable rogue. He's a career criminal who has made peace with his life choices. The scenes where he explains the benefits of prison life to a new inmate are delivered with the enthusiasm of a timeshare salesman, completely sincere in his belief that incarceration represents the height of civilized living. What makes this film absolutely brilliant is its complete moral inversion. The criminals are more honest than the guards, prison is more comfortable than freedom, and crime pays better than legitimate work. American audiences couldn't handle a comedy that presented criminality as a rational career choice, preferring their prison films to reinforce traditional values rather than subvert them. The film's sardonic worldview and celebration of institutional corruption made it feel too cynical for American tastes. They wanted their criminals to learn valuable lessons about redemption, not perfect their techniques for exploiting the system. Number 6. The Mouse That Roared, 1959. Political satire is a dangerous game, but The Mouse That Roared plays it with such brilliant absurdity that it makes Dr. Strangelove look subtle by comparison. This film follows the tiny nation of Grand Fenwick as it declares war on America with the express purpose of losing, thereby qualifying for Reconstruction aid. It's Charlie Wilson's war, if Charlie Wilson were completely insane. Peter Sellers delivers a tour-de-force performance in 3 different roles, but his greatest achievement is making the film's ridiculous premise feel absolutely logical. When Grand Fenwick's invasion of New York accidentally succeeds, Sellers plays each character's reaction with such perfect comic timing that chaos feels inevitable rather than contrived. The film's genius lies in its complete understanding of Cold War absurdity. While American films were taking nuclear anxiety seriously, The Mouse That Roared recognized that the entire situation was inherently ridiculous. The idea that tiny nations could manipulate superpowers through strategic incompetence wasn't just comedy, it was prophecy. What sets this film apart from other political satires is its refusal to pick sides in the ideological struggle. Americans are portrayed as well-meaning, but naive, while the Europeans are cynical but practical. The film's message that everyone in international relations is essentially making it up as they go along was too uncomfortable for audiences who wanted clear heroes and villains. The supporting cast, including Gene Seberg as an American scientist and David Kossoff as Grand Fenwick's prime minister, creates a perfect ecosystem of international incompetence. Each character represents a different national stereotype, but the film avoids easy caricature by making everyone equally ridiculous. American distributors didn't know how to market a film that made fun of both sides of the Cold War. The movie's sophisticated political humor and distinctly European perspective on American foreign policy made it feel foreign and challenging rather than entertaining and reassuring. Number 5. Carlton Brown of the F.O., 1959. Diplomatic comedy should be an oxymoron, but Carlton Brown of the F.O. proves that international relations are inherently hilarious when viewed through the right lens. This film follows a bumbling Foreign Office official as he attempts to secure British interests in a strategically important island nation, with results that make Brexit negotiations look competent by comparison. Terry Thomas plays Carlton Brown with such magnificent incompetence that you'll wonder how the British Empire lasted as long as it did. His character approaches diplomacy with the same attention to detail that others might apply to choosing socks, completely oblivious to the chaos he creates with every well-intentioned gesture. The film's brilliance lies in its recognition that most international incidents are caused by stupidity rather than malice. When Carlton Brown's diplomatic mission triggers a revolution, civil war, and potential nuclear crisis, the film presents these catastrophes as the natural result of putting the wrong person in charge of anything important. Peter Sellers appears as the island's prime minister, delivering a performance that perfectly captures the absurdity of post-colonial politics. His character's attempts to manipulate both British and American interests while maintaining power create a perfect storm of international incompetence that feels eerily prescient in today's political climate. What makes this film absolutely brilliant is its complete lack of imperial nostalgia. While other films might celebrate British competence or mourn the loss of empire, Carlton Brown presents colonialism as an elaborate practical joke that got out of hand. The film's message, that most of history is the result of bureaucratic incompetence rather than grand design, was too cynical for American audiences. The film's sophisticated understanding of international relations and its distinctly British perspective on American foreign policy made it feel impenetrable to audiences who preferred their political humor more obvious and less uncomfortable. Number 4. The Angry Silence, 1960. Industrial relations comedies shouldn't exist, but The Angry Silence proves that workplace politics can be absolutely hilarious when viewed through the lens of complete social breakdown. This film follows a factory worker who refuses to join an unofficial strike, triggering a campaign of intimidation that makes Norma Ray look like a corporate training video. Richard Attenborough delivers a performance of such quiet dignity that you'll want to shake him and explain that dignity doesn't pay the rent. His character's stubborn adherence to principle in the face of social pressure creates a perfect study in how good intentions can destroy lives, communities, and any hope of rational discourse. The film's genius lies in its complete refusal to romanticize either side of the labor conflict. The union militants are portrayed as petty tyrants more concerned with their own power than worker welfare, while management is opportunistic cowards who use the conflict to advance their own interests. The only honest character is too principled to survive. What sets this film apart from other industrial dramas is its recognition that workplace politics operate according to their own insane logic. When Attenborough's character is subjected to the silent treatment by his colleagues, the film shows how social ostracism can be more effective than physical violence in breaking someone's spirit. The supporting cast creates a perfect ecosystem of working-class paranoia and middle-class opportunism. Each character represents a different response to industrial conflict, from the true believers who worship ideology to the pragmatists who just want to keep their jobs and keep their heads down. American audiences couldn't handle a film that presented organized labor as anything other than heroic or villainous. The movie's complex understanding of workplace dynamics and its refusal to provide easy answers made it feel too foreign and challenging for mainstream consumption. Number 3. Heaven Above, 1963. Religious satire is comedy's third rail, but Heaven Above electrocutes that rail with such joyful abandon that it makes The Life of Brian look reverent by comparison. This film follows a naive clergyman who takes Christian teaching seriously, with results that would make the Spanish Inquisition reach for their smelling salts. Peter Sellers plays Reverend John Smallwood with such sincere devotion that you'll spend the entire film waiting for the other shoe to drop. His character approaches Christianity with the radical idea that people should actually follow Christ's teachings, a concept so revolutionary that it triggers complete social collapse. When Smallwood is accidentally appointed to a posh parish, his attempts to help the poor and challenge the wealthy create chaos that ripples through every level of British society. The film's genius lies in its recognition that actual Christianity would be completely incompatible with civilized society as we know it. The supporting cast, including Cecil Parker as a snobbish archdeacon and Ian Carmichael as an aristocratic parishioner, represents every possible response to genuine religious conviction. From horrified opposition to cynical exploitation, each character demonstrates how quickly good intentions can be corrupted or destroyed. What makes this film absolutely brilliant is its complete commitment to the satirical premise. While other films might pull back from their religious critique, Heaven Above follows its logic to the bitter end. When Smallwood's Christian example inspires a social revolution, the film presents this as both inevitable and terrifying. American distributors were terrified of a film that made fun of organized religion so directly. While British audiences could appreciate the film's sophisticated theological humor, American viewers were too invested in the idea of religion as a purely positive force to handle such pointed satire. Number 2. Only Two Can Play, 1962. Academic comedies are usually about brilliant minds struggling with mundane reality, but Only Two Can Play reverses the formula. It's about a mundane mind struggling with brilliant reality. Based on Kingsley Amis's novel, this film follows a Welsh librarian whose attempts at sophistication create disasters that make Lucky Jim look like a success story. Peter Sellers delivers what might be his most underrated performance as John Lewis, a small-town librarian with big-city pretensions. His character's desperate attempts to escape his provincial circumstances through an affair with a sophisticated woman create a perfect study in self-delusion and social climbing. The film's genius lies in its complete understanding of class anxiety and sexual frustration. When Lewis embarks on his affair, the film shows how quickly romantic fantasy collides with mundane reality. His attempts to maintain multiple relationships while keeping his job and his sanity create a perfect storm of middle-class panic. Maes Zetterling plays the object of Lewis's desire with such calculating sophistication that you'll understand exactly why he's willing to destroy his life for her. Her character represents everything that Lewis thinks he wants: culture, sophistication, and escape from provincial mediocrity, while simultaneously demonstrating why those things might not be worth having. What sets this film apart from other comedies of adultery is its complete lack of moral judgment. Lewis isn't punished for his infidelity or rewarded for his eventual return to domestic stability. The film simply presents his choices as the natural result of human weakness and social pressure. American audiences couldn't handle a film that presented adultery without clear moral consequences. The movie's sophisticated understanding of sexual politics and its refusal to provide easy answers made it feel too European and challenging for mainstream American consumption. Number 1. The Magic Christian, 1969. If you've never heard of The Magic Christian, prepare to have your mind blown and your faith in humanity permanently damaged. This isn't just a comedy. It's a philosophical experiment disguised as entertainment, following an eccentric millionaire as he conducts increasingly elaborate pranks designed to prove that everyone has their price. Peter Sellers plays Sir Guy Grand with such cheerful malevolence that you'll find yourself both horrified and fascinated by his experiments in human degradation. His character approaches corruption with the enthusiasm of a scientist studying bacteria, treating people's moral collapse as entertainment worthy of considerable investment. The film's structure is pure genius, a series of escalating pranks that start as harmless practical jokes and evolve into elaborate demonstrations of human weakness. When Grand pays people to perform increasingly degrading acts for money, the film doesn't just critique greed, it implicates the audience in the voyeuristic pleasure of watching people destroy their dignity for cash. Ringo Starr appears as Grand's adopted son, serving as both participant and witness to his father's moral experiments. His character's gradual corruption mirrors the audience's own complicity in the proceedings, creating an uncomfortable feedback loop between entertainment and exploitation. What makes this film absolutely brilliant is its complete refusal to provide moral comfort. While other satires might condemn corruption from a position of moral superiority, the Magic Christian recognizes that everyone, including the audience, is complicit in the systems it critiques. The film's final message, that civilization is essentially an elaborate con game that we all agree to participate in, was too uncomfortable for most viewers to handle. American distributors had no idea how to market a film that attacked the fundamental assumptions of capitalist society, while simultaneously demonstrating their validity. The movie's anarchic worldview and complete lack of redemptive message made it feel dangerous rather than entertaining, ensuring its status as a cult classic rather than a mainstream success. So, there you have it, 12 British comedies that prove Americans have absolutely no idea what they're missing. While you were busy remaking our classics into unwatchable garbage, these gems were sitting right there, waiting to be discovered. Each one offers something Hollywood never could: genuine wit, moral complexity, and the courage to leave you uncomfortable rather than satisfied. Which of these forgotten masterpieces will you be watching first? Let us know in the comments and prepare to have your comedy standards permanently elevated.